the wheelhouse, which means it's time for another Wheelchair Wednesday. And today we had a guest, but the guest got some time constraints, mixed up, so they can't make it. So we got another guest right on time here, and we're gonna bring them to you shortly. But before we do that, we want to say welcome to Wheelchair Wednesday, and let's roll the intro. Welcome. All right, y'all, let's welcome Russ Balser. How you doing, bud?
I'm hanging in there, man. Doing all right. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks for filling in on such short notice here.
Oh, of course.
I know you had something planned for the 9th, but hey, we'll just get it out of the way now, eh?
That's right. That's right. No better time than the present, right?
Yep. There you go. I was thinking about that quote earlier, and I couldn't think of it. But yeah, that's what it is. No better time than the present. There was a kid trying to put off mowing his grass. His dad was going to buy him something, and he said, "You're going to mow the grass." And the kid's like, "I'll do it, but I don't want to do it today." And then I was like, "There's got to be something to say." And no better time than the present. That would have been perfect. Absolutely. So, speaking of present, go ahead and why don't you introduce yourself, let people know who you are. And our number one question that we always get in a wheelchair is, how did it happen? So go ahead and introduce yourself and then let people know how it happened.
All right. My name is Russ Balser. I'm 52 years old.
That's my fault. Go ahead.
Paralyzed from the areolas down. And the way I got my accident, I was in construction, and I fell 3.5 stories. I broke my back, my neck, my sternum, 7 ribs, and 4 ribs off my sternum.
Damn.
So, yeah.
And that was how long ago, you said?
That was 4 years ago, April 30th.
All right, so you're pretty fresh into it.
Yeah, I'm brand new.
How old are you, Russ?
I'm 52.
Okay.
Yeah.
How are you finding life in a wheelchair?
I try to tell myself it's not the physical, it's the mental. That's what I'm battling with the most. Right. Trying to handle things the way I used to handle them, and realizing me being in this position now, I can't handle it like that anymore. So I've got to reinvent myself. But not a lot of people have the opportunity to wake up in the morning and, reinvent themselves. So I try to look at that as a positive as much as it sucks, because it does,
Right.
So, like you said, I'm fresh into this thing,
Right. I mean, even being fresh into it, you've been around long enough to know what kind of bugs you. What's your biggest pet peeve about being in a wheelchair?
Having to ask somebody for a cup or, something to drink, just the little things, you know what I mean?
Right.
Is probably the biggest pet peeve. People touching my wheelchair, they don't really touch my wheelchair. I haven't been in a position for anybody to touch my wheelchair. I don't go out a lot. Like you said, I'm fresh into this thing. I was bedridden for about 3 years, 7 months. And then when I came to a place I'm at now, I told myself, I'm going to get in my wheelchair every day, and I'm going to try to see if I can tackle this thing,
Right.
That's a big. It's been a journey.
Right. I was gonna say that in itself is a battle, just to get up out of bed and get in your wheelchair. A lot of us, we deal with pain, chronic pain all the time, and so like just to get up and do that motion to where you gotta expend all your energy just to get in that wheelchair. Once you get in it, it's almost like you accomplished something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No matter how minute it is, you accomplish something, and I try to keep that as a positive. But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, all I did is got my damn wheelchair. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But so I'm still battling with that, rather than taking those small accomplishments and, thinking the best of them. But like you said, I'm taking this journey and I'm trying to, be the best person that I can be in this predicament, you know.
Right.
So,
That's all you
you
can
know,
do.
that's
Uh,
all you can do.
what's
I look
your?
at people
Or go
now.
ahead.
I look at people now. If I see them outside in a wheelchair, I don't think of what their injury is. The first thing that comes to my mind is I wonder what it took for that person to be out. You know what I mean?
To
I
actually
wonder
get
what they
out
had
and
to go.
about, right?
I wonder what they had to do to get out and just be, in public. So,
Yeah, that's something you don't really think about, especially before my injury. I would look at them, and I remember looking at people. My biggest like thing that I remember about looking at somebody in a wheelchair was why don't they fix their feet and their legs? They always got their feet where they're like sideways or like not straight. I'm like, man,
right.
why don't somebody go fix that dude's feet for him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he probably don't even
Oh,
know.
yeah.
You don't even realize it.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
yeah. I've ran my feet over numerous times, broke my toes. I'll feel like I feel something dragging, and I'll look down and it's my damn leg. You know what I mean?
oh man,
Like you said, I'm new into this thing. I'm trying to. I just started strapping my legs up. Because after time sitting in your wheelchair, as your knees could be together, but as the day goes on, they just start spreading open and spreading open and spreading open. Before you know it, I look like a willing and able prostitute. So,
yeah, that's why I got these things right here, the thigh guards, man. The thigh. I mean, I got a power wheelchair, but even on another regular wheelchair, they got the straps where you can strap
uh-huh,
onto your legs. You know what I mean?
you're
I highly
right.
recommend those. We used to just use the Velcro ones, but no, I get you. If you don't got nothing, like you got to keep correcting your legs and hold on to them, and then the damn things will go everywhere. I used to make a joke about why can't we just cut these damn things off and then I can move around a
Yeah,
lot easier.
yeah.
But
It cut down some weight. I still have girth to my legs. I'm looking at some people in wheelchairs now. They could throw their legs over their, behind their head or what have you. And I still got these tree trunks. What I mean,
yeah,
which makes it even that much worse. But
yeah. The longer you go without using them, the less mass they'll develop. Mine are just starting to kind of like lose a little mass. So I've been in it for what, a little over 5 years now. That'll be
I hear
6 years
you.
in
Hey,
October. So yeah.
well, you're doing
Um.
your thing. I
Yeah.
appreciate the platform for me to be able, to speak.
Yeah. No big deal, man. No problem. Thanks for coming on. Um. What about your dating or married life? How's that going?
Um, I'm happily married to a woman uh, for 32 years now.
Nice.
So I met her when I was 19, and we have two children. I have a 30-year-old son and a 25-year-old daughter. Um, and she's a recent amputee because of diabetes. So once that happened, my injury was no longer about me. You know what I mean? It was about her. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Um, the bad thing is if she falls, I can't pick her up. You know what I mean? Which kills me. As a man, you're supposed to be the protector and this, that, and the third. And she could fall, and there ain't nothing I could do about it. You know what I mean? Except hover over. And
Call
that
for
kills
help.
me.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can call for help. You know what I mean? But once again, back to the mental thing. That's not who I was. You know what I mean? I was Johnny on the spot. You know what I mean? And so I got to battle with that. And reinvent myself and get on 911 and you know, hey, I got a female down over here.
Right.
Um, but um, these are things I got to correct about my mentality and the way I think about things now. So, um, you know,
Yeah, it all shifts. It all changes, don't
it
it?
does. It really does.
What is something that you could wish, or what is something that you wish you could do now that you can no longer do?
Mm. Um, I would say almost 90% of the guests they got it spot on the bow program. You know,
Yeah.
I won't be able to go into a room and shut the door and have me time. You know what I mean? Um, so I would have to say that's my biggest thing.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. Being able to control your bowels when you want, how you want.
Yeah, yeah, for
Um,
sure.
what about if you could fix one thing about your paralyzed body besides your bowels? Obviously, what would it be?
Uh, and still be paralyzed?
Well, see,
But
yeah,
fix
fix one
something?
thing. So, like, if you could, like, maybe I don't know. I forget how somebody worded this once, but it's for me. It's like if I could get like feeling in my like, lower region a little bit more. That'd
Yeah,
be good.
I think that's a good I think that's a good point. I never really even thought about something like that. If I could fix one thing, it would probably be the nerve pain, to
Yeah, that's a good
diminish.
one too. Yeah.
You uh, the nerve pain is a big thing, and on top of that, when you got to get up in the morning, and just get into your wheelchair, that's a feat. But it's
Mm-hmm.
also a feat when you add on top of that with the nerve pain that you got. Your legs are not wanting to do what you want them to do. Um, and you got to get into your wheelchair, and you're fighting with this nerve pain. And, it's just that's a big one.
The funny thing
You know.
about nerve pain I've noticed is you almost want to like just take your pill and not move so that it'll like won't hurt you that much because the more you move around it'll start hurting if you make little
Of
movements.
course.
But if you get up and you're like moving constantly doing stuff, then it starts going away a little bit by little bit and you kind of get more used to it.
Right,
Now
and I don't
granted,
know if I don't know if that's your mind, like you're preoccupied in doing what you want to do,
right.
rather than concentrating on the pain. You know, but me being into this, if I could tell you a story, like I said, I've only been moving around in my wheelchair for 7 months now, and I'll go outside and uh, try to mow the grass and weed eat and no one told me that I can't sweat from the nipples down. So
Yeah.
uh, my wife will find me, just lethargic on the side of the house. I have to call the ambulance. The ambulance will pick me up, and when you're in the ambulance and they're like, "I have a 52-year-old male, possible heat stroke, out there cutting the grass and weed eating, is paralyzed from chest down." And then the lady will call, answering back. She was like, "Well, how's he cutting the grass and weeding if he's paralyzed?" They're just
Right.
and that's just me. But once again, that's me finding out the limitations of what I could do. You know what I mean? Knowing that I could try to do these things, but within 5 to 10 minutes, go in the house, take a break. What I mean, cool down, know my limitations, and hopefully my gas tank will go up, so I'll have more stamina. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the goal, to have more stamina so I could stay outside longer, bring a cold towel to throw over my legs or on my neck, to just be smart about my environment, you know. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that's once again part of the journey, Um, I when I was in rehab after my injury, if you don't mind me saying,
No,
speaking,
go ahead.
when I was in rehab, I was in the hospital for 7 days, and I had a thoracic, uh, uh, guard on me, from the chest down, and I also had a neck brace because I broke my neck. So they sent me to a rehab. I ended up staying there for 2 weeks, but everything they tried to teach me, I couldn't do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Uh, because of these restraints.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the day before I left, they took the thoracic off me, and boom, out pops my belly, and I'm like, what is this? And they're like, well, you have no more muscles in your stomach to hold all that stuff in, and and
Yeah, that was hard
I
to get
became
used to too.
I became like a gummy worm. And you know that trick when you have cups on the left side of you and you got to grab one and bring it in front of you and
Oh,
grab it with the other
I
hand.
hate that.
bro, that's when I knew I messed up. You know what I mean? That's when I knew how damaged I really was. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because I had no idea. I didn't press myself to actually find out how damaged I was, you know? And like
Yeah,
I
they
said,
make you
they took
sit
that
straight
thing
up
off.
on a flat table and try to like balance yourself. That's the one I hated the
Yeah.
most.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, damn, I don't have a core. That's when you realize what your core actually does. You know what I mean? Um, but like I said, I was there for 2 weeks, and when I came home, they didn't teach me about a bowel program. They didn't tell me about sweating. It's just like in and out at the place that I was at. So
Right.
I got home, my wife's in surgery, getting her leg, and she had to go through rehab. So that was a hard part for me. I basically was just in the bed, just giving up. You know what I mean? Uh, just battling about who I was, didn't have any therapy, um, you know, and then I won my workman's comp. How hard that is to win workman's comp because they want to find anything to say, nope, we ain't paying, you know.
Yep.
Um, but they ended up uh, giving me workman's comp, and that's when they sent me to. I'm not going to give the details because there's litigation going on, but they sent me to a prominent place. Let's say it's in Atlanta, um, and I told my wife, I said, listen, when I go to this place, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna be a sponge. I'm gonna take in everything they got to give me. I'm going to, I'm really gonna utilize me going there. You know what I mean?
Right.
No hold bar. And when I went there, the whole place is filled with, wheelchair and handicapped people. So, we were able to talk to a couple people, and get, that's the best thing, face to face advice and what you're going through and this, that, and the third. And I would have these people called peer support. They would roll into your room, and they've been injured for 15 years. And I'm not taking anything away from that, but you know, I I would resonate with somebody that's new into it, hell, they might be sitting here talking to me, shitting on themselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the person I want to talk to. You know what I mean? Not somebody
Right.
that's already got it down pat. You know what I mean? I think that would be my biggest pet peeve too. Well, they sent me to this prominent place, and what happened to me, like I said, I was gung ho. Well, what happened to me is that the nurse tried to transfer me from the bed to the. She ended up dropping me and breaking my tibia and fibia in my right leg.
Oh
Um,
dang.
and she didn't report it. And of course, I didn't know I was injured because I can't feel it. And that's when I experienced my first case of autonomic dysplexia. I was downstairs and I thought I was having a heart attack. You know what I mean? I didn't
Oh dang.
understand that your body has an alarm, to let you know, hey, something's wrong. You're either laying on a bottle cap, you got beds. But what this thing was doing is it was trying to tell me, hey, something's wrong with your leg. Um, so she didn't report it. Um, and I was getting wrapped one day for edema, when they wrap your legs for swelling. And the
Mm-hmm.
nurse was like, what happened to your leg? And I was like, I don't know. It must have happened when I fell. And she was like, you fell? You know, all of a sudden I got nurses and doctors and x-ray technicians coming in. You know, it was a big deal. Well, that gave
I'd have
me
sued him.
that gave me PTSD, brother, like you wouldn't believe. I already had PTSD, but now I have the fear of transferring. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I got injured. The whole reason I'm here is because I fell 3.5 stories. And then this happens, and I find out how damaged I got. You know what I mean? So they try to rush me through the program and, to get me the hell out of there, essentially. Well, I did obtain a lawyer, and litigation is going on. And, how could they win? You know what I mean?
Oh
Uh,
yeah, no, for real.
yeah.
You definitely
And,
got a
and,
case.
and the defense came back and said, well, it shouldn't matter anyways because he can't feel it.
Oh hell
That
no.
that's about the most inhumane thing I think I've ever heard. You know what I'm
I was like, I'm
saying?
gonna need another 150 grand just for that statement
But
alone.
it's about 10 times that much.
Yeah,
So
there you go. Oh yeah. Good, good.
I'm hoping for the best. You know, God blesses us in certain ways. You know, and I'll take it. You know what I
Right.
mean? If I had to fall and go through all this turmoil to set my family up,
Right.
I'd do that 10 times over. So,
That's kind
you
of how
know,
I feel about my injury to a point. Is like because I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing right now if it wasn't for what I went through. You know what I mean?
right,
So it's
right.
almost like you think about it like, okay, this is part of God's plan. Then I'm here for a reason.
That's right.
You know what I
You know,
mean? So
like I said, that goes back to finding out you've got to reinvent yourself. You know what I mean? Before I got injured, I was 47 years old. I didn't know who the hell I was. You know what I mean? I didn't have a game plan. I was just working. You know what I mean? And now that I'm injured, it's I've got to regulate myself and think about plans and this, that, and the third. You know what I'm saying? So,
right,
who knows?
right. Well, back to these questions I got.
I'm
We're gonna
sorry. I'm
skip.
rambling.
No, you're good. We're gonna skip a couple of them because you already went over them through what we were talking about. What type of chair do you got?
Um, right now, with my insurance, while I was in Atlanta, I had that smart drive, and the problem with the smart drive is if you run into something, that wheel doesn't stop.
I don't know. Those
Well,
things are scary.
yeah, so it tipped my chair over, broke both my wheelie bars. It didn't have handles, so I really don't have a wheelchair right now. It's in the makings, but I'm having to go through this insurance crap, so
Hmm.
I don't really have a wheelchair right now. You
You
know what I
just
mean?
reminded me we gotta find mine because I'm gonna sell it. It just sits around collecting dust.
Yeah,
Thank you for
yeah.
that. What if you
Going.
you so you don't really have like a go-to wheelchair, like a lot of us we have our go-to, that's our main, you know
Yeah, I don't. I'm
squeeze.
dead in the water. Huh. If I go
Dead in the
somewhere,
water.
I'll get in the car with my son. And they'll go inside the store, and I'm just along for the ride because I can't go in because I
Oh
don't have a
man, yeah,
wheelchair.
so you gotta go in the car with no chair, so if something happens to that car you ain't got no way to get out of there then.
No,
Holy crap.
you just have to drag my big ass out.
Put me on the back, right, put me on your back, that's crazy.
Yeah, figure it out. And dead
You gotta
weight's a
get
real
yourself
thing.
right. Yeah, well, once you get a wheelchair, make sure you give it a good name.
Yeah.
um what about hobbies? What do you do for fun?
Um, I'm figuring that out, man. Like I said, I've only been up and moving rather than
Right.
bedridden for about 7 months. So, um,
I'm gonna give you
I try to.
a hint, or not a hint, but maybe like a tip. If you
Right.
can, when you get a chair, try bowling.
Bowl. Yeah, they took us bowling, and I bowled, and the first bowl I rolled was a damn strike.
There you go.
I used to like bowling. You know, what I mean, they wanted me to use the alligator. You know, when you roll it off his back and it rolls down like for kids and shit. And I
Oh
won't
yeah.
try that. I
No,
won't
I throw
try
my
that. I
own
want to
balls. I don't need no damn
Um,
alligator.
my boy shoots, so I want to get into that. Shooting. Um, he's got a friend with some property, so I want to try that. I do cut hair. You know what I mean? So I've cut a couple heads. I take care of my sons, and so those things I still like to do. And me being in a chair doesn't really prohibit me from doing it. So,
Right.
um, you know, I actually want to get into be a peer support. You know what I mean? Um,
Yep. I
you know,
actually got a couple guys that are starting something that you might like. Once they get it rolling, I'll keep you in mind.
yeah, keep me in mind, bro.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. To be like a speaker through Zoom or something like that.
Absolutely,
To people,
absolutely.
they're trying to see if they can match up. Like if somebody gets injured, like a T12, then they'll find another T12 and be like, "This is how I did it." You know what I mean?
Right, right, and that would help us out so much. If I was an alcoholic or a pedophile, I can go to a meeting tonight.
Yep.
But for us, there's nothing out there. At least where I live, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing out there. And I can understand not meeting somewhere because it takes people forever just to go somewhere. So, but you do have the Zoom, and that's why I appreciate the platform that you have, to give people like me to ramble. You know what I mean?
Hey, you know what? That's fine. The way I look at it is somebody out there has probably got, because I'm a T3, T4, so I start out right here about probably around you.
Yeah, my aerial is...
So anybody who's got that injury is going to want to see somebody else. For me anyway, you know what I mean? I wanted to see somebody else in my injury doing stuff because I wanted to know that it could be possible to still do things, you know what I mean?
And I respect it, but not 15 years into it. I want to speak to somebody that's fresh. You know what I'm saying? Going through the same shit that I'm going through right now. That I would resonate with that a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Now I do find it inspirational when I do see some people, but the people that are posing or lifting weights or dragging themselves up a rope 15 flights up, they've obviously conquered some things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I respect it, but like I said, I would rather talk to somebody and them not know if they're shitting on themselves right now. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's a reality though. You know what I mean?
We call that a code brown, man. When that shit happens, I hit we hit that what is it at? Was right here? Oh, code brown, and then we then we take care of business.
Yeah, my son will always, make like a fart sound, and I'll be like, "Was that me?" And they laugh.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I can't tell if it was me, brother.
Oh,
you know what
no,
I mean?
nope. You gotta hear that first. Can't feel it no more like you used to.
Yeah, no shit. And it's just, it's part of this journey, right? It's part of this new life. So,
absolutely,
I embrace it.
I got one more question for you.
Of course.
Before we get out of here, it looks like our original might be coming through. I don't know yet, but before we get out of here with you, what's the one piece of advice that you would give to somebody fresh in the hospital with the spinal cord injury?
Try to find somebody that's going through the same thing you are. I think that would make all the difference in the world. If I had that, when I first got injured, it would mean a lot. You know what I mean? And understand that while you're in the hospital, you got that red button that you could push and a nurse will come running in. Well, you're gonna go home. You know what I mean? And you don't have that red button. And even though you've got family willing to say, we got you, at the end of the day, it's going to beat the crap out of them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we're not just talking about what we go through. We got to think about our loved ones and caretakers. You know what I'm saying? Because they get the brunt of it too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So just understand that when you leave that hospital, you're gonna go home, and it's gonna be rough, but just be prepared for it. Being prepared for things is what I've gotta go on.
Right. Absolutely. Well, there you go, folks. Mr. Russ Balser, thanks for coming through, sir. Appreciate having you.
I appreciate you having me. Hopefully maybe in time we get to speak again. You know what I mean? I could tell you about more accomplishments that I've taken care of.
Oh yeah, we'll keep you in what's called the Wheelchair Mafia phone list. We got the, what do you call it, the old rotodials, where they got you go through the ding, 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 you know what I mean? The Rolodex. Yeah. So we're gonna keep you in the Rolodex, the Wheelchair Mafia Rolodex. So yeah, we'll check back with you, man. See how you're doing, maybe in a year or something like that. Just keep following along. And then yeah, thanks for coming through. Everybody else, if you guys want to check out Russ, make sure you go on Facebook. He's on there, probably on some other spots. The more he gets going, we'll let you know. We'll put it down below in the description. But for Russ and everybody else, man, appreciate you coming through. Russ, stay with me. we're gonna tell everybody goodbye, and then me and you are gonna wrap it up.
All right.
So-
Hey, all praises to God, man.
There you go.
Personally.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time here on Wheelchair Wednesday.
Good night.